Welcome back to the Write It Down podcast at Home Edition. I'm your host, Brooke Murata, bringing you one-on-one interviews to challenge, inspire, and encourage. Up next, we have Atlanta Dream WNBA player Monique Billings join us. She joins us all the way from Istanbul, Turkey, where she is playing in the off season. I'm super grateful that she made time to come on this show. We did have some technical difficulties since we're on the opposite sides of the world, but that happened. So I'm hoping that it turned out very smooth and enjoyable for your listening ears. Monique is amazing. She just wrote her first book, Finding Balance, a playbook for wellness. And she is all of those things. She's balanced emotionally, physically, and spiritually. We talk about her walk with the Lord, and we talk about dating, which is also a fun topic. So you know what to do. Sit back, relax, and get your pens ready because this is Write It Down. Welcome back to the Write It Down podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Murata, on the mic with a special guest today, Monique Billings. Monique, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So it's funny because we've been trying to get this interview scheduled, and I was like, oh, like 9 a.m. Pacific time. And then I said, good morning. And you're like, it's actually nighttime because you're in Turkey right now. So
I just arrived to Istanbul today.
oh my goodness. Okay. So you've been
Mhm.
traveling, you went to Greece and now
Yep.
Turkey. What is this Mediterranean tour that you're on?
I love it. So Greece just so happens, Athens, Greece, just so happens to be like my favorite place in the whole wide world. So I just spent a week there, just hanging with friends, vacationing, that type of thing. And then I'm actually playing my off season, playing basketball here in Istanbul. So I'll be here for the next 4 months.
Oh my goodness, 4 months. Okay, so in your off season, do you always travel to different countries and play? What does that look like for you?
So, in my last 5 years of being professional, yes, I've played in 10 different countries in the last 5 years. It's been insane. There's been a lot of just crazy madness traveling, but I've met so many amazing people. I've had so many amazing experiences. So, I've just been loving it.
So was this your dream as a little girl to play professional sports, travel the world? You have a book out. We'll definitely talk about that. UCLA grad, playing for Atlanta Dream, the WNBA. So,
Mhm.
like, was that your dream as a little girl? And do you feel like it's unfolding in front of you, or was this a huge surprise?
I'm going to say it was a huge surprise. I didn't know that it could be my dream, and maybe deep, deep down it was my dream, but I don't think I dreamt big enough when I was a young girl because I saw professional athletes, specifically WNBA players, and I was like, oh, they're superheroes. Like, I'm 10 years old watching Lisa Leslie, Candace Parker, and I'm like, yeah, you have to be a superhero in order to be a women's basketball player. I can't do that. Like,
And
and
now
that
look
was
at
it.
you.
It was never
Yeah.
like, I know, right? It's crazy. And now there's another 10-year old looking at me saying the same thing. But I encourage the youth and just really anyone just dream big.
Yeah. Okay. So when you said that, I got the chills because I'm like, man, I love that. I love that what you just said is I feel like I didn't dream big enough. And we
Yeah.
talked a smidge before just starting about like our belief in God and our walk with
Yeah.
Jesus and how
Mm-hmm.
important that is to us. And we know that like there are things that he does that are bigger than we could ask, think, or imagine. So now on this side of your youth, you're in your 20s, you're playing professional basketball, you're literally living the dream with the Atlanta Dream. And
Yeah.
you say, I feel like I didn't dream big enough. So, how has that changed the way you hope for your future now? Seeing what's happened and the doors that have opened for you, how does that act as a catalyst for you and future dreams?
I love that. I mean, I really just as as a believer and now having more just years within my faith, being a more seasoned Christian, you just see how God works through you. So I'm at a point where I realize that maybe these were my dreams deep, deep down. I don't know, maybe, but I think I've been led by God the whole way. I think God really planted these seeds on my heart. And so I'm just walking along the path that He's created for me. And so as I continue to go and then in the future, yeah, I just really want to walk the path that He has intended for me to walk and to live. I'm traveling to all these countries as a believer. I'm in a Muslim country right now. So I'm like, okay, God, like, how do you want me to shine my light? Like, how can I represent you in the best way? How can I continue to be everything that you've created me to be? And so that I think that's what I think about when I think about dreaming in the future, just letting God use me. Like we're all instruments. We all serve a purpose and have a purpose here on earth. And so I think that's what the future looks like for me.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love what you said too about being an instrument. Or some of people may have heard it as like a vessel for Christ. And it's so awesome to be in that heart position of like, I have no expectations. I just know that you're good and you're big. So let's see what happens while I'm in this country, or let's see what happens while I'm playing for this team or connecting with these certain people. So what would you say really started your wellness journey?
Hmm. Well, I would say the catalyst for my wellness journey was my dad. When I was a young girl, he would always say, mind, body, soul. Like you have to be in alignment with your mind, your body, your spirit. And when I was 9, 10 years old, I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't really care to know what that meant. I'm just like, okay, dad, yeah, yeah, whatever. But as I have been an athlete pretty much my entire life and going through just different trials, I would say I'm a pretty introspective person. Like I've been journaling since I was around 9 years old. So having all those things it just in my back pocket, I would say I've always been into wellness just because I wanted to know what it means to feel good, and being a believer, just wanting to know just from my spiritual side, how I can allow my spirit to feel good as well. And so I feel like it's kind of just always been in me, but it's grown and it continues to grow. I'm 26 right now, so I can't even imagine where I'm
Oh,
going to be at when I'm 46 and then 66, you know.
yeah.
I know it's just going to continue to develop.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you implement in your wellness journey with, meditation, journaling, all those different things? So what does that look like for you putting this into action?
Totally. So I begin each day with my morning routine, which I think is just the primer for my day. It's so important for me. I do journaling. I have a prayer journal, I have a regular journal, and I don't always write in both in the morning, but one or the other, mostly my prayer journal in the morning. Like you said, meditation. I like feeding my mind in the morning. So listening to positive sound bites, or just there's this prayer channel on YouTube, which I think is really cool. And as I'm like cleaning or getting dressed, getting ready for the day, I'll just put that on and listen to it. Um, yeah, those are, I would say, a couple of things that I do just to start my day. In my book, chapter 1 is called Be Still. So I like taking the morning to be still. And like I said, just really set the foundation and my intentions and prime myself for the day ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about your book, Finding Balance. I absolutely love the title because I think life is all about finding balance, whether it's a work life balance, whether it's a spiritual balance in your life,
Oh,
physical things. So, love the title. Definitely catches my eye. Love the cover. You look stunning. So,
thank
let's talk a
you.
little bit about your book. What started that journey for you writing a book? It's a big feat,
Yeah,
and you just went on a
yeah,
little mini book tour. So that's all exciting and super neat. So why don't we
thank
talk a
you.
little bit about that process for you?
Yeah, totally. So I was very unexpected for me to write a book. At the time, I was 24 when I started writing a book, and I'm like, don't like 40-year-olds write books?
Yeah,
Like, I'm
right.
not
Yeah.
cool enough to write a book yet. You know, I'm not old enough. I haven't lived enough life. So that's how I was feeling initially. But I really do think like it was just a God thing. Like God, puts things on your path, and you can choose to pick them up or you can choose to leave them. And I feel like this is a purpose that he put on my path. And so my manager actually inspired me to write this book because I was telling him just about how passionate I am about wellness. I feel just incredible when I wake up in the morning. I feel good. And I just like that chase of trying to find like my higher self every single day. And I was telling him I want to help other people experience that as well. He was like, well, you should write a book. That's what experts typically do. So if you
Right.
want to be an expert in this topic, you should write a book. So that being said, the book process began in 2020. I was living in Russia. Speaking of playing abroad, I was playing in Orenburg, Russia, and it was winter. So I definitely like wasn't going outside, wasn't doing too much. So I was at home writing this book, and I would use my evening times just to write. I kind of didn't really have so much of a direction, but I do feel like Holy Spirit spoke through a lot of the times. And so, yeah, that's how that went. And then I met my editor, and my editor kind of helped me piece everything together. That was a beautiful experience as well. And then did the photo shoot for the cover, which was a
Love
lot of
it.
fun. I did that while I was in season in Atlanta. I flew from Atlanta to California. I had a game the day before. Like, it was just crazy, but I'm like, this is it. Like, it's really happening. And then getting to choose the font, the colors, and just putting life into it. That was a fun experience as well.
Yeah.
And then yeah, now we have the book. It's here,
I love
and
it.
I'm just so excited about it.
And where can people find your book and order your book?
It's currently on my website, mobillings.com, mobillings.com. We're going to be on Amazon soon, and I'm going to be having an ebook. So stay tuned for that.
I love that. I definitely need to get my hands on one. I'm excited to read it. I am super impressed and encouraged
Yay.
by your life and the fact that you're 24, started writing this book. I'm 26 as well. And there are just so many things. And I really resonate with that, what you said about just really not like, again, not having expectation, but also just being so eager and excited for like what's ahead and like the seeds that have been planted in your heart. And then the
Yeah.
choice that you have, like, am I going to pick this up or am I just going to leave it there? And that is probably
Yep.
one of my favorite qualities about the Lord is he doesn't force people to do anything. He gives us choices. And it's not a necessarily a black or white thing. It's just an exciting adventure. And I love
Yeah.
that you started this book process, writing this book. You were able to put creative energy into it, and that's something that is really awesome, especially being a professional athlete. You are probably narrated to the public of having a one-track mind. A lot of athletes, I
Mm.
feel like, have that. Like all they care about really is their sport, or
Yep.
just kind of navigating those waters and where they're going to head after that. But what I love about you is you're doing so much kingdom work and you're doing a lot of creative work and you're
Mm.
putting into practice some of the other gifts that you've been given. And that is just so cool because life isn't always going to
Thank
be
you.
this busy. Life isn't always going to, maybe we'll be jet setting
Maybe.
when we're 46,
Yeah.
which I hope I am. But this is something that you're sowing into your future and you're
Mm.
learning to write and to articulate your thoughts and you're building an audience of people who are buying in, for lack of better words, into the
Yeah.
practices and beliefs that you have. And that is just
Mm.
so awesome. And it's so cool to just, be a blip on your radar to see this and to hear you talk about this. Because so many people, I think, sleep on their dream, so to speak. And it could be from
Yeah.
discouragement, it could be from heartache, it could be from anything. And I absolutely love that you have a story that takes the bull by its horns. We're going to take a quick break to discuss Write It Down's brand new website. You can head over to widpod.com, widpod.com, and see all the goods. You'll notice a banner at the top of the page that says Learn More. If you click that link, it'll show you how you can support Write It Down. P.S. My favorite part about the website is the Wid Wall, which is a collection of all the Write It Downs from the show. This podcast is made possible by the 1513 Network, so show the network some love and support by listening to their other shows. If not, just stick with Write It Down, because I'm the coolest, the realest, the illest. Now, back to the show. Your title, Finding Balance. I want to ask you, this is for the girls in the back. And when it comes to relationships and dating, how would you say,
Yeah.
especially with your life, do you find balance? How do you find authenticity with people that you meet? What does that
Ugh.
even look like? Because, first of all, it's hard to find authenticity in a small town, let alone when you're jet setting around the world and you have a spotlight on you. So, what does that look like? And how have you journeyed through the dating world?
Oh my goodness, girl, I am trying to figure it out.
Same.
Where
Maybe we'll
is
write a book
Mr.
together
Right?
because I
Right.
have no idea.
I don't either. And I'm, like I said, trying to figure it out. I mean, I am at a point where I know what I'm worth. I know what I will never settle for. I know just, you have your list of things that you just don't want to deal with. You get to a point where it's just like, why am I going to deal with this? I'm
Right.
not. Like you choose yourself. And so that's just self-love. Um, I think patience is important and it is so hard. I am preaching to myself when I say
Yes.
that
Yeah.
because social media will, try to tell you what you should have, and you'll scroll and see happy couples and all these, things that tell you need to be in a relationship, you need to be in love. But right now in this season of my life, I'm just trying to soak in solitude and celebrate my singleness
Yes.
and knowing it's totally okay to be single, but it's also okay to meet guys, to date, especially while I'm traveling. I think that's been something that I've enjoyed. Making different friends, like making guy friends in different countries and possibly exploring the option of dating. But even if we don't, like
Right.
going on dates
Yes.
and having friendships, that sort of thing. It's funny because you see that the guys abroad aren't too different from the guys in the States in a
Like you have
lot of
hope
different
that they
ways.
are, but then you're like, you're the same. You're all cut from the
You
same
are the
cloth.
same.
Yes.
Yes, you
I
are a
feel like
man.
that journey like to contentment in that portion of your life, like at least where I'm at with it is I definitely feel like when you're traveling or you're meeting new people, at least in my heart, I'm like, okay, like you can meet somebody anywhere. Like there's like God doesn't lack in areas of life.
Yeah.
And so I feel like sometimes, and for those that are listening out there, boy or girl, when you're looking to date, it's sometimes you come from a place of lack where you're like, oh, that's just never going to happen.
Mm,
Or maybe God doesn't have somebody for me. But when you come from a place of like, oh, like his resources and his love for me is endless. So let's
love
just
that.
go enjoy and have fun and see what happens. Like that
Mm,
approach is like, it's freeing. Like I'd rather have freedom
yeah.
in that area than like stress. And this is,
Yes.
my close friends and family that are watching this are probably just going to laugh because um, this is what you talk about at Christmas and Thanksgiving. People like, you found somebody, blah, 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 blah. But wanted to ask you because you are constantly on the go and
Yeah.
you have a spotlight on you that I'm sure that you get people from all walks and situations in life, and you have to navigate, even in friendships, you have to navigate authenticity of who actually
Yes.
genuinely cares about Monique, who actually genuinely cares about the things God has for her, who's just trying to get something
Yeah.
from me, and who's people who are giving. So I would love what you said about just being open and meeting people, and you just, and God's going to protect you. God's going to show you like the
Exactly.
right people. No, I know that's happened in my life where I'm like, wow, thank you. Thank you, Lord.
Yes.
Maybe.
No, 100%. To add to that, I do feel like I'm big on you attract, what you put out there. And so I
Right.
don't put that type of energy or just vibe out there, I
Right.
would say. And so I don't really receive that, thankfully. And I feel like I can easily just weed it out. Like, oh, this person has bad intentions, or I just don't feel good
Yeah.
when I'm around this type of person. I'm able to like tap
Yes.
into that. So I think that helps too. And that's discernment from God, honestly.
Yeah, it is. Well, and something I heard you say on a different podcast I listened to preparing for this is you mentioned that you've always been in tune with the spirit. And I
Hmm.
think that that is probably something that has, I don't want to say probably, it is something that has helped you along the way and that discernment
Totally.
because people have different gifts. We all have a level, I think, of discernment, and some people have a really good gift at it. Sometimes I
Mm.
feel like the Lord has to like hit me in the head sometimes and be like, I tried telling you back there,
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
weren't catching my whispers. But there are
Right.
some people that are really sensitive to it, and it's a beautiful gift. It's not a gift greater or less than anybody else's. But I think that is so cool and unique about you that throughout this journey and the doors that have opened for you, that you've been given an extra measure of discernment. And the Lord gives us everything we need for our own life and for our
Mm.
own path. And
Yeah.
so I love that. So tell us a little bit about and we'll get to our rapid fire and I'll write it down. I could probably talk to you forever, but tell us a little bit about um the spotlight, body consciousness, comparing, what all comes with that in the world that you're in.
Oof. Everything, all the above. When I start feeling myself going through that, it mostly happens if I'm on social media, if I'm just overstimulated, I've been scrolling for too long, I immediately get off. And that's something that I do appreciate about myself. Like I could feel like the shift happen.
Yes,
Like
me
I had
too.
a great day in, 10 minutes of scrolling and I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
I'm not that pretty or my life
Right.
isn't that great. And it's just like, where is all this coming from? I hate that. That's what we do as humans. So I think limiting the amount of social media that I use, and like I said, it's really just like a feeling that I'll feel like a shift. Um, and I think just with maturity, I have gotten a lot better at just being happy for people and knowing that my gifts are my gifts and other people's gifts are their gifts. And so just celebrate for other people, be happy for other people. I know that what's for me will never pass me. And so I think just having peace that comes with faith as well, having those things and just kind of being dialed into that helps me with comparison as far as like with anything, just with body, with lifestyle, any of those things. It's natural. We're human. I'm not perfect, and neither is anyone listening to this podcast. And so it's okay if you go through that, but you just can't stay there. You got to get out, and then you got to remember what you're grateful for because it could be gone tomorrow. That helps me a lot
Yep.
because I could compare myself to anyone, but I'm so grateful for everything that I have. And if it was taken away, I'd be sick. I'd be so sad.
Right, right. I absolutely love one phrase that really jumped out at me when you were talking was what is for me will never pass me.
Mm,
And that idea is, I mean, that just sunk into my heart because there is a level of hurriedness, especially in our culture with social media
yeah.
and stress. If I got to have it now, I like, I need to grasp onto this so tightly. But then,
Yep.
like you're saying, that shift in perspective of like the things I do have that I love so much that didn't pass me, if they were taken from me, I'd be devastated. So it's
The
almost
things
like
that I
how much
prayed
more
for.
does the Lord have for me that I'm going to like
Yes,
not want to leave me because I'm not going to miss it. And that
exactly.
is
The
so helpful. Good.
the things that I prayed for, I literally have. I prayed for these things. They're right in front of me. They're in my hands. They're in my possession. And I'm still wanting something else. I'm still looking at something else, not feeling content. Like that's just humbling. And like I said, we're human. God understands that and we go through it, but we just can't stay in that place.
No. And so if we all know, like as Christians, we're on our way to eternity, and scripture says we go from glory to glory. So how much more wonderful are things going to be? Like, like the best
Right.
is yet to come. And when you have
Yeah.
that hope and expectation, even on your worst day, even on the day that you've lost somebody close to you or cancer seemingly won or whatever
Hmm.
happened, bankruptcy or um, the loss of anything, like even then you have a hope that there's more to come.
Yeah.
And I love that. That's like obviously the whole thing of faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the certainty of things unseen. And so
Yeah.
it's being present with the gifts and the things that you've already prayed for and they're already here, and then trusting that he'll do it again. And that is why we write things down, because you remember the things God's given you and the doors that he's opened. And I love that you wrote your journey down in Finding Balance, your book that we can find on mobillings.com and soon Amazon. Before we end the show, I do want to ask you a few rapid fire questions before getting to our write it down. Shower in the morning or at night?
Shower in the morning.
Morning. Okay. So you don't morning and night? Sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay. Extra clean. Do you brush your
Well, I would say both. I would say both.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I'm a weirdo and I normally ask questions about shower and brush teeth on this show. So it's fine. It's whatever. Do
I love
you
it.
I'm a cleanly person. Do you brush your teeth before or after breakfast?
Sorry, repeat that one.
Do you brush your teeth before or after breakfast?
After.
After, me too. I don't like mint flavors in my food. Okay, which kind of leads
Same.
me to my next point.
Okay.
Mint and chocolate go together or no?
Yeah, I think
Like,
it's nice.
you think it's nice, like mint chocolate chip ice
Yeah,
cream? Okay.
I love it.
I have this like dispute with some people, and I just don't think it goes well together. I feel like you're chewing
Oh,
gum and eating chocolate, but It's cold, and most people like that like crisp feeling. So there's a couple types of
Yeah.
people in the world. This okay. So does cilantro taste like soap to you?
I don't think cilantro tastes like soap.
Okay. Okay. Um, initial thoughts on
Huh, that's so
kids being on
strange.
leashes. Have you seen that?
Yes, it's terrible.
It's absolutely terrible. I've been in the mall before and I'm seeing these kids on these leashes, and I'm like, that is inhumane. That is not necessary. Put them in a stroller.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
literally. Or just teach them how to be disciplined.
Yeah. Or get them a babysitter and go shopping by yourself. Like, there are options here,
Yeah,
people.
right.
All right, we are at that point of the show where I ask each guest to give the audience something to write down. So, Monique Billings, what is your write it down?
Ooh, okay. If I was to tell anyone to write something down, it would be my favorite quote, which is to be better than yesterday, but not as good as tomorrow.
I love it. Write it down, Monique Billings. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Turkey.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to the Write It Down podcast. This podcast is a part of the 1513 network. You can catch a variety of shows on their website, 1513.com. If you enjoy listening to Write It Down, please subscribe, share with your friends, and if there's any ink left in your pen, write a review. For more content, follow the fun on Instagram by following at WIDPOD. That spells WIDPod. It's super cool. Stands for Write It Down Podcast, but it's abbreviated to WIDPod. Anyways, thanks for listening, and we will catch you later.